Okay, I'm now recording it. Damn, come on, guys. Throw me a bone here. Say, Rick, are you recording this? Cheryl, it's your...
Hey, is Casey here? And is she going to be moderating and paying attention?
No, Casey's definitely not here today. So, all right. So let me talk a little bit about this. Have you ever read a book? You know, like I got my buddy Tom Costello on here, and I know he's read a lot of great books, and then he implements what he reads. Okay, like you can hear it in his language. When he talks to you, he's implementing things he learned about how to form questions and things like that. Does the author get credit for giving you something that you implemented? I didn't hear any answers.
No.
No, they don't. Because if they got credit for you implementing it, then they'd have to take responsibility for all the people that read the books and don't do a damn thing differently as a result of it. Would you agree? Yeah. Anyone? Yep. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So remember, this is a participatory conversation. It's not Rick speaking and everybody else listening. But I'd like you to keep yourself on mute. When you're ready to talk, just unmute and start speaking. And yes, you can interrupt me. Now, the reason I bring that up is, and this is really critical, if we were able to go to Workman Success Systems and get this amazing $2,500 to $3,000 a year program, and by the way, I still coach for Workman, and one of my coaching clients is Remax, and they just gave, because Workman coaches a ton of Remax people, they just gave them a discount on that same program for $19.97 a year. That's the discount. We got it for $149 a year. Okay, just saying, if they're giving a humongous company like Remax a discount done to $19.97, and then if they do it 1 year and buy it again the next year, they get it for half price. So it goes down to $9.97. All right, we're getting it for $149 a year. I don't want to say any more, but here's my point. If I talked about the book and the author, if I give you these not me, Workman Success Systems gives us these for $149 a year, and there's over 200 videos in there, 200. If you look at Ramp, AMP, BAM, and SLAM, and you don't use them, does Workman get blamed because you don't use them and your business didn't change?
Nope.
No, baby.
No.
Right. So, hi, Beth. Thank you for you speaking up like that. Beth Bowles is brand new to EXP, but one of my literally best friends in the world for 13 years. So anyway, so the idea is that we're given these tools, and guess who one of the main speakers on Ramp is? Beth's husband. Beth's husband is one of the top coaches at Workman. His name's Paul. You'll see him speaking in the Ramp videos. If you did week 1, all of it, you saw Paul Sessom. And they are an amazing power couple. Beth, for instance, has TikToks that have over 1 million views. And I'd love for you to follow them. They're called Da Baby Boomers, DA Baby Boomers, Da Baby Boomers on TikTok. Follow them, please. She has
my God. Thank you for the plug.
You're welcome.
You're so sweet to me.
Yes. And I'll be sweeter when I see you in person. So if you just want a good, uplifting moment a day, watch Beth and Cheryl's TikTok at thebabyboomers.com. They're amazing. The Baby Boomers on TikTok, not .com. All right, so let's move on. I'd love to hear, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen and open up Ramp on the screen. And then we'll talk a little bit about your experience, if that's okay with you, and we'll go from there. Everybody okay with that? I'm trying to open it up at least. I don't even know if I can. So let's see, sign in.
Did anyone else notice that there actually was not a 5B?
Yes,
video?
I noticed that.
Because we did the work and we finished up this morning, and we were looking for that last video, and it was not
there was. You just got to keep going.
Okay.
What do you mean? Oh, so are you saying on week 1 there was? Let me just look.
5B.
Yeah, it switches to week 2, and then it shows a 5B video. So the 5B video is in week 2.
Oh, it's in week 2. Okay, perfect.
Beginning of week 2, yeah.
Well, okay, let me share my screen because maybe we're not seeing the same thing, guys. I'm a coach for Workman, so my screen might look different than yours, but down here, I have session 5B is week 1 in review. Did you guys not all see that?
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Our week 2, apparently not on.
So the week reviews are all, it seems to be at the beginning of the following week. So
it does. Okay. That must be new. I know they completely redid, by the way, they completely redid it since the last time we had RAMP, which was earlier this year. We started it on January 3rd, I believe. So that's fine. That's good because you know why I like that? Because just as you start, you know how when you watch a series, a TV series, I used to like to watch Bull's on hold right now, but I love when they started, they go previously on Bull. So that's what we're doing, right? So we're doing that. I think that's a great idea. Now, when you open up these sessions, how many of you noticed how many downloads this one has? This particular week had a ton of downloads that, in my opinion, and I said it in the email, you should print it. How many of you had paid attention to how many there were? Cheryl, tell me a little bit. You seem to be the teacher's pet today. So that's your RAMP workbook. You printed it all up.
So I had the title company. Thank you, Colin Bennett, for giving me that suggestion. Had the title company print 4 packets, and then we just took and bound them, had them whole cuts and bound them ourselves. And we did print all of the trackers. And so what we'll do is we'll just print them for every week and have them in the front of our folder. We're doing this the right way here. We're getting highly organized and
nice. Okay, guys. So look, one of my friends for over 35 years, I play softball with him and I hire him all the time to paint my listings as a professional painter. And I love what he tells me. Cheryl, don't go away because I'm going to call on you a lot.
Okay.
What he says is preparation is 70% of the job. He said, Rick, the first 2 days we're doing a huge painting job. We're taping, cleaning, edging. We're doing all this stuff, plasticking, that doesn't involve one bit of painting. And he said, then we can zip through the job like nobody's business. So Cheryl is saying that she printed up 7 daily success habits forms for 7 days in the week. Now, when I do daily success habits forms, I like printing them up. People go, oh, I do them on my computer. I go, if you're selling a lot of real estate, you're not at your computer all freaking day long. So I literally fold it up and put it in my back pocket, so that when I do something, I pull it out of my back pocket and write it. There's even an app at Workman for the Daily Success Habits form. Did you know that? Well, you can actually reach out to Workman Success Systems through our program and say, how do I get the app? What's my sign in for the app? It should be the same sign in you use for RAMP, but I'm not the techie guy, and don't ask me. Don't send me text messages because I don't know. John at workmansuccesssystems.com, JON at workmansuccesssystems.com. He can answer those questions and he's very happy to. All right. So, let's see. Okay. Can I interrupt and just ask DM who you are? You've got a beautiful picture, but I don't remember the initials DM.
Hi. So my name's David Manicad.
I know David. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Good. Great picture, buddy.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm actually at my other office right now, so I'm just trying to keep the noise down. I closed my door.
No worries.
I was invited
by who?
By Ariel.
Oh, nice. Hi. Good.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. I love this. It's very informational, and I love the collaboration. Everyone's throwing in their take and their perspectives. It's amazing.
Thank you. Well, thanks for being on. All right. So, and Ariel, thanks for inviting him.
Of course.
Okay. All right. So now we got into it, right? You heard what they were saying. How many of you had one? Please be honest about this, because not everybody in here is brand new, but not everybody here has tons of experience. Here's the problem. If you have been in the business for 10 years or less, you do not know a bad market. You don't know a shifting market. You don't know a challenging market, and you don't know a complicated market. EXP had this huge they're changing the way the meetings are done every Friday at 8 a.m. And they had Brent Gove and Curtis Johnson on as guest speakers. And Curtis Johnson said something amazingly life-changing that, like, my wife and I are walking our dog. We don't normally walk the dog for over an hour, but we did it so that we would just keep listening to that call. It was so good. And Curtis said something that really struck me. He said, when the market was amazing, were you contributing to your success or just receiving it? Right? Today starts the day that you start paying attention to contributing to your success. Meaning, I'm doing things on purpose. Like Larry Walker on my team, he's not on here, but Larry Walker is, when I met him, I thought, I'm older than this guy, but I met him. I met him to talk to him about coming to EXP. And we met at a Pete's coffee shop, like literally a half a mile from my house. And I walk in and like, the guy was beautiful. He has this bald head. He was wearing a 3-piece suit with no tie, cufflinks, a big old watch. I'm like, oh my God, like handsome as the day is long. And then he told me he was 70. I was like, dude, you look like you're 50. Okay. Larry he's now on my team. He's not just at EXP, but he's on the Rick Jihad team and he works his butt off. He walks 5 miles every morning, right? I used to think that was so huge to me. I'm like, why don't I walk that much, right? Now we walk between 6 and 10 miles a day if I'm not out on the road working. Like if I'm home, I can take time, go walk the dog for a long time, and then come back and continue working. All I'm saying is you can make differences when you decide you're going to do it on purpose. But there is one other little bonus to doing this program, guys. The universe and God align in your favor when you do what you said you do. If you're telling the world, I'm doing ramp, but you're not doing any of the homework assignments and you're not going out lead generating and you're not making a few calls, and then look, guys, nothing's going to happen. But Larry was very committed, doing open houses, doing all the things he needed to do. All right. Doing all of these things that he was following instructions to do. And then out of nowhere, somebody called him and says, Larry, I forgot you were a realtor. I need to sell my house. And Larry comes to our daily huddle and he says, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It dropped out of nowhere. And I said, no, it didn't. It was sent to you by God in the universe because you were working your butt off. That's the reward you get when you're succeeding over here by doing the activities. That's the number one thing, doing the activities, then all this other stuff. William H. Murray's poem, when one commits, all sorts of acts that were unexpected start to occur. They say when one commits, providence moves too. Look up William H. Murray's poem. If you just Google William H. Murray, it'll pop up. It's the most amazing thing. Now, if you're going to Google William H. Murray, I'd love for you also to Google Marianne Williamson's poem that was made famous by Nelson Mandela. Like, she had that poem for ages, but it became famous when Nelson Mandela talked about it in his speech. Look at, she's got it right there. Is that it? Is that the Marianne Williamson one? Right. So good. Like, yes. And Tom's writing it in the chat. But she says there, you're playing small so others won't feel less than around you doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve the world. And you know what? I did that for 50 years. I did it for more than 50 years. I wouldn't speak up. I'd sit in the back of the room and some other leader brought it to my attention. She just slipped me a note and said, please read this tonight before you go to bed, and don't read it a minute before, because before you go to bed, you won't be distracted. And all it said was the poem. It was Marianne Williamson's poem. And at the bottom, the lady had written, think about these words and whether or not they apply to you. It was great to know you so far in your life. Now, I ended up dating that lady for 2.5 years in my life. And it was not a really great relationship emotionally and physically and all the things you want to be in a relationship. It was horrible. And what came out of it remember what I've told you guys this before. I've told some of you, this is the first time you ever really heard, is I said, everything happens for a divine reason. Don't let yourself say everything happens for a reason. Okay. Like, you know how people say that kind of pissy? I just haven't figured out the reason yet. No, if you say everything happens for a divine reason, Vanessa's laughing at me right now, then you know there was a divine reason for this horribleness or for this relationship. I am married to a woman who I wouldn't have known if I didn't go through that horrible relationship. My sister, who I love more than almost anyone on earth, has had a job for over 16 years because of that horrible relationship I went through. It's the only reason she ever got that job, because of that relationship. Okay, so look, rewards come, pain comes. I heard Brent say it today. I love it. He said, you're going to struggle. Everyone struggles. But you know what he didn't say that I would have added if I were on there? I would have said, struggle is a fact of life. Suffering is optional. Suffering is a state of mind. And you might say, well, Rick, can we get to the ramp stuff? Yes, we can get to the ramp stuff as soon as your mind is ready for why you're doing this in the first place. And look, I know Cheryl Lister. I know Vanessa Johnson. They regularly sell tons and tons of houses every year. And they're on here. Why? Because what does Ramp do? Ramp adds 2 more per month. Who doesn't want to add 24 more deals minimally to their transaction base? I do. I just hired a $7,000 a month coach. Vanessa met her because I'm that committed to succeeding at a higher level. And you might say, oh, you're crazy. We'll see. By the way, she's already made over $100,000 difference in my income this year, which more than paid her for the entire year. And I've only had her for a couple of months. Yay for me. Okay. So just because of things she's telling me to do. Now, yes, I don't expect you all to go hire even a one-on-one coach yet. When you're ready, I'll send you to Workman. But right now, this is your one-on-one coach. You have some of the best coaches in the company. And while we're doing Ramp, there's nothing, if you're so good that you're catching up and keeping up with Ramp, then watch Slam at the same time. We're not going to talk about Slam here unless you bring it up as a question. I'll be glad to. I'm one of the people speaking on Slam, I think. It's been a while since I recorded those, but I'm not speaking on Ramp. The only Ramp you're going to hear me talk about is here on these calls. All right. Now, value. I want to bring you value. All right. It doesn't matter that Beth's husband, Paul, or I are both, and Selena, who I just hired, are some of the top coaches in the company. When we get assigned a coaching client, that coaching client is paying Workman Success Systems somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 a month to work with us. Beth's husband, Paul, me, Selena, and there's a few others. Okay, that means if they're paying $2,000 a month, they're paying $1,000 a call to be on a call with me, Paul, Selena, right? Why am I telling you that? Value. I have value I can bring to you. You don't know how many people have said to me over the years, if there's no money in it, if there's no stake in it for the people, they will abuse the value they get for free. I don't believe that about this group. I don't believe you take up a freaking hour of your Friday morning unless you were committed to being a bigger, better version of yourself. Look, at the end of the day, we sell real estate for what one reason? To make money, period. Yes, there's all these other benefits, including horrible relationships and and transactions that fall apart and stress and all of that stuff. But the main thing is, because have you ever done this? Have you ever cried over the emotion of giving the keys to a first-time buyer? Me too, right? And I can remember the day I did it. I'd done it a bunch, but I remember a specific day in 1997 when I was with Century 21. I was running the office, but I was still a top producing agent. And I remember I was so emotional about this couple because they were in their 50s and they had never owned a home. And this was their first home. And every realtor they had come across said, you can't buy a house. And when they came to me, I said, let's figure out how you can buy a house. So all they could end up buying was a condo. The wife breaks down in front of the door on the morning I'm opening the door to hand her the keys. I start crying. It's crazy. And I remember this, and I felt fake about it because when I went back to the office, guess what I said when I got back to the office? Hey, we just closed on so-and-so. Where's my check? I was just crying about giving her the keys. And now I was going, where's the check? That's the reality. But why did I need the check? Because at that moment, I was signing up my 11-year-old for a special baseball program, and I needed a little extra money. And my wife said, well, if you're closing one, grab that. We'll take that out of there and I'll put the rest in the bank. That's what the money's for my sons to have baseball lessons, to pay the mortgage, to do the things that you must do to go through the life you're leading. Capiche? Does that make sense to everybody? So, all right, so let's start. We went into lesson 1. Let's see. There's a lot of, oh, Tom, you posted the whole thing, buddy. Thank you. That was very nice. All right. So, by the way, if you guys are not on my how many of you have ever attended my free Friday coaching call? Yell it out. If you haven't, Tom is going to be one of our guest speakers because Tom's a specialist in how to be a self-defense expert in open houses. We just got a letter from the president of the California Association of Realtors that it's been ages since they've heard an incident about attacks at open houses on people, and apparently it might be on the rise. So I really want to be conscientious about that. And we're going to have Tom be a guest speaker on our free Friday coaching call about being cognizant of your safety and how to take care of yourself. Okay. So thanks, Tom, for volunteering to do that. We don't know a date yet, but we'll let everyone know once we do. All right. So we are going back to sharing a screen. And what I want to do is ask you all about what you thought under the introduction and meeting your presenters, under finding your big why and creating new habits. Now, remember that 2B all the way down to 5A is the business plan workbook. Make sense? Now, oh, wait a minute. I got to find that. Okay. So let's just really talk for a second about 1A, 1B, and 2A before we talk about that. There was downloads. There was the RAMP workbook. There was the daily success habits. What am I missing? Was there trackers? Yes, Vanessa, Cheryl?
There was trackers.
Habits tracker.
Okay, the daily success habits tracker. What else?
Income spreadsheet.
Okay, good.
The sprint action items.
Yes, all right, good. Oh, those are all from the workbook, from the business plan workbook, right. And then I'm also going to probably send you guys through the RAMP emails what the entire business plan workbook looks like. It's a little different than all of the different downloads. It's a little bit more thorough. So I'll send that to you guys so you have it in addition, because guess what? Guess what July 1st is? It's the first day of the second half of the year. So we're starting at the premier time, because you can make a difference in the second half of your year by following RAMP. And so July 1st is the best time ever to do a new business plan. All right, so let's see, participants, mute all. Okay, so I muted you all because I was starting to hear background noise, and you can unmute yourself when you're ready to talk. Here's the thing. The reason how I bring that up is people say, well, you know, I joined RAMP in March. I don't want to do a business plan. I did mine in September for this whole year. No, there's never a time that it isn't effective to redo a business plan, rethink it, re-challenge yourself. Okay. You know, I got the Casey, I think most of you know, has built an incredible career for almost 15 years at Nu Skin, a network marketing company that specializes in anti-aging products, health, wealth, nutrition, supplements. I just took a big pile of supplements just now. And her upline, the guy who brought her in and trained her, makes a buttload of money doing this. And he always says, I never change my goal. If I'm challenged, I change my activities. And I really got in his face once about that. I mean, I'm I'm old enough to be his dad. I'm, you know, and I say, well, you know, I totally believe in setting yourself up for a win. Well, Charlie's made up differently than I am. And while I may never personally change my goal, I coach people to say, look, set yourself up for wins, little wins along the way. Whether, you know, like there's some people in here that I know that are on this call that are into agent attraction. And they probably follow a system that my wife has set up. But here we're talking about one thing, your production, yours, no one else's. Blank out the world, make you first. Anybody familiar with the football player named Eric Thomas or E.T. that played on the 49ers? No? Okay. I mean, I'm not a big, huge football fan. I'm a fanatical Raider fan, but I still don't watch the games very much because I got better things I want to do. But I still pay attention. And I remember, Jeff Gonzalez is saying E.T. is the man because he was a really incredible football player. And somebody yesterday gave me a video. He's a motivational speaker, right? It was amazing. And this guy really rocked the room. And I liked what he said. But what he said is, now it's time for me to put me first, for me to do the things. And he said, gosh, he goes, the one thing that has nothing to do with race, religion, socioeconomic background, anything you can imagine has nothing to do with it, is the ability to wake up every morning when you do and grind it out. And he even talked about something that was near and dear to me, because I remember when my wife read the book, what's it called? Miracle Morning. All of a sudden she's wanting us to get up at 4:30 in the morning and journal and read. I'm like, can we just shift this whole Miracle Morning where it starts at 8 in the morning instead of 4:30? Because we'll do the same things. We'll just start it later in the day. And he said that. He goes, you don't have to get up early. I don't care when you get up. He goes, because people in the Serengeti, they can get up at 3 in the morning. They don't have the opportunities you have here. He said, we are in the country of opportunity and you need to take advantage of it. You need to put you first and get up every morning and grind. And one thing he said on that talk I listened to last night, and Brent Gove talked about it this morning, is he said, quit talking yourself out of your own success. I loved it. Very basic. And you'd think, well, Rick, you coach on that same things. It's different. When I'm listening as a student, I'm always learning. I'm always open. I'm always hungry, humble, smart, and coachable. Always. That's what we got to do with this RAMP program. You might say, seems pretty basic, especially if you're a Cheryl or a Vanessa, right? Especially if you're a Tom or a Jeff or a Bruce and his wife, right? Like you go, okay, these people know. Carla England has sold hundreds of houses in her career. Like you guys all know. Sherry Mason sold. You're going to go back to it and you're going to say, it's basic, but I'm learning this for a reason because I need to get back to the basics. And later on in RAMP, they're going to talk about something that's called very important. It's called your 4 pillars of income. And that is, what are they? You're going to get really good at one of them at a time. Okay. And they're going to go through all the different pillars that you can make pillars of income, so that when you leave this program 12 weeks more from now, today's week 1 of the 12 weeks, 13 calls, we already had one, is that you're doing it. Are you going to get behind? Yes, the majority of you will. It's okay. But don't make excuses for you getting behind. Admit it, and then decide when you're going to stay up late or make a sacrifice to get caught up again. Period. That's all it is. It's making a sacrifice, right? The other day, Casey and I really badly wanted to watch 2 episodes of a little thing we're binge watching. It's only 9 episodes. And well, I got up the next morning at 5 o'clock to do all the things I didn't do because I binge watched those 2 shows. All right. I paid for my sacrifice. I did it. And I'm not saying I do it all the time, believe me, because my favorite 2 things in the whole world, besides my wife, my dog, my kids, my family, is sleep and food. Okay. Those are my 2 biggest distractions, is sleep and food. And people say, oh, well, you don't seem, you sleep, you're up early. No, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the days I'm going to play basketball. I don't do that the rest of the week. My average wake up time in the first 15, 20 years of my career, literally my average wake up time was 5 to 5:30 a.m. My average wake up time right now is 7 a.m. What do I hope to have? I hope to be able to soon not set an alarm. That's what I'm moving my life towards, a freedom. That's what we can do with this program. And by the way, am I doing this program? Freaking right I am, because I married a lady named Casey who says you're not going to talk about things there that you do without you also doing them. Right, Beth? You were here when you heard that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. Beth was here in the room last week for our first call, right here. She was sitting across the table from me. So, yeah, so we've really got to get on this together. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. I want to hear your experiences of week one. And I don't want only Cheryl or Vanessa to talk. Go. Bruce.
Okay. Eye-opening, I'll say.
Bruce, I need to say this. You are distractingly handsome.
You've been talking to my mother again, man. Damn. Anywho. But yeah, eye-opening. Like I said before, I started before, and then we had some personal issues when we couldn't finish it. And I always get invigorated, and this time reinvigorated, by just jumping in and diving deep. So unfortunately, no excuses. Didn't get to 100% of my goal in finishing. I think I'm about 75% with the homework. But that's actually amazing. So stop right there and give yourself some kudos and some grace for having done 75%. This is the week that has more homework than any of the other weeks. Okay. By the way. And you might say, oh, well, that's good to hear. Well, guess what? The homework assignments coming forward are very consistent about what calls you're making, what actions you're taking. But this, you had workbooks, you had challenges. There's a guy on here, if he doesn't mind coming up, James Wotring is here from Southern California. And this is his first ramp. He's new to EXP. Hey, James, there he is. So James, you know, him and I met, and I challenged him to do 3 days in a row of the Daily Success Habits form. Guys, 3 days in a row is one of the most painful exercises you'll ever do, because as you're doing them, you realize how much time you've wasted in your day. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so if you're doing the Daily Success Habits form, the most important thing you can do is not predict the outcome of your 30-minute timer. That's called the activity tracker on the left side of that form. Cheryl, show it to us, honey. The activity tracker on the left side of the form. Yeah, you can keep track of all your lead generation activities, but I want to add one thing. I want to add a couple of things about the Daily Success Habits tracker, because I don't want to end this call without you guys knowing the facts about it. Workman Success Systems has been using this form for ages. They have tracked thousands, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of points. Okay. And guess what they've determined? That if you do 61 points a day, 5 days a week, you will on average add 2 to 3 transactions a month to as long as you're being truthful about your points. Okay. Because a lot of people are out there, they're like, just need the points. My boss is going to kill me. No, you are the boss now. All right. So here's what I want you to remember. There are a lot of people, Bruce, just for you to know. Where's your lovely wife? I thought was she on here earlier? She was not. She's, you know, we got good news yesterday, but she's still a little tired this morning.
Okay. But, give her my love, buddy. Give her my love. Bruce's wife is going through chemo and beating cancer. So
as of yesterday, she is not. She is done with chemo.
Nice. Good job. We're sending our love and prayers to her.
Hashtag winning. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. So Bruce, what if I said to you, like, you're a new guy, you haven't met me before, and I'm your coach, and I'm saying, hey, here's this form called the Daily Success Habits form, and we'd like you to get 61 points a day. But I know if I just tell you to do 61 points a day, you're probably going to tell me to take a long, long walk off a very short pier. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, why don't you do this, Bruce? Look the form over and tell me how many days a week you'd be willing to commit to turning that form into me, and how many points a day minimum will be on the form when you turn it in. Now, let's say I ask Bruce that, and he says, okay, Rick, I'm willing to turn it in on Monday and Wednesday, Friday night, and I'll commit to having at least 21 points each of those days. All right. Now, what am I going to do with Bruce? Then I'm going to hold him accountable to what he committed to, not what I told him to commit to. Do you get that? There's a difference. Would I love for you all to commit to yourselves to do 61 points a day? Hell yes. but I know I can't force you to do things. You'll have to decide. So if you might say, maybe I'll start with little wins and go up to bigger wins. Well, guess what? 21 points a day, 3 days a week is 63 points, right? And on average, that'll add at least 1 transaction a month to what he's already doing. And guess what else it'll do? It'll build up his self-esteem and his confidence because he did what he said he would do. He didn't say what I told him to do, but what he decided he would do. And then let's say after week 1, he gives me the form 3 times and 3 of the days didn't have 21 points, but they had some points. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, congratulations, Bruce, on getting some points. You had committed to 21, but didn't make 21 on any of the 3 days. Can you tell me what you learned? Right? I'm not going to say you're a freaking loser, Bruce. I'm going to say, what did you learn from committing to 21, but only getting to 17 on 3 days? Well, then Bruce is going to say, wow, Rick, I'm so glad I didn't commit to 61 because I didn't realize how much time 21 would take. He's going to have an educated realization. Okay. Yes, I'd love you all to be brilliant and go through the whole 12 weeks and be done and be selling tons more houses. But let's be honest, not everybody's going to do that. Have thousands of people done it successfully within the 12 weeks? Yes. I want you to put pressure on yourself without adding stress and misery. Be honest about what you're committed to, because when you say, I'll do this, and you do it, then you're building up integrity, self-esteem, and confidence. When you say, I'm going to get 61 a day, and you're not, that adds to you beating up on yourself. You don't even know it's happening. It's happening subconsciously. So please, this daily success habits form. Why do you think I didn't ask James Wotring to do 7 days in a row like the assignment really is? Because I just want to see 3 and let him have the realization. You still there, buddy? Where are you? Oh, there he is. Okay, he turned his camera off. So James, would you mind speaking up and telling me what enlightenment did you get from that exercise?
Short version, I'm a highly paid assistant.
Oh my God. I didn't even train you to say that. That couldn't be better. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. But in early stages of our careers, didn't we all not have assistants? I didn't. I didn't for the first 12 years of my business. And when I got one, I cared more about her not having her feelings hurt than I cared about her getting work done for me. And she was my assistant for 6 years. And for the last 27 years or so, she's been a home warranty rep. And she's built an amazing career. So we're still best buddies. But here's what I'm saying.
What does that mean exactly?
What?
He's a highly paid assistant.
Means that he looked at all he did. Because remember, if you, Kevin, look at the activity tracker on the left. Your goal there, when you're doing the activity tracker, listen to this, guys, if you don't know, you're supposed to set your phone on a 30-minute timer from the minute you get out of bed in the morning till the minute you go to bed at night. And every time it goes off, Rebecca, you look really interested in this. Are you taking notes? You're on mute, honey.
Yes, I'm taking notes, and then I'm sorry, I'm echoing. Vanessa's behind me.
That's okay.
And like all your quotes, I'm like putting into my phone to clip and go.
You are so cute. Vanessa, you have a great team. All right. So mute yourself again. There you go. All right. So I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so when you get up, you set it for a 30-minute timer. And then every time it goes off, no judgment. You just write down what happened in that last 30 minutes. Okay. Now, you don't know how many times I've given that assignment to people, and then they just send me back and it's all typewritten and there's gaps in it. And they go, I said, what is this? And they go, I just loaded what was in my calendar. That's BS. You know as well as I do, the stuff you put in your calendar rarely gets done. Right? How many of you ever told yourself, I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning and go running? 5 in the morning comes, you go, I'm going to stay in bed and not go running. That happens a lot. All right. So just by timer, no judgment. And you're not supposed to be beating up on yourself. You're going about your day anyway. But every time that timer goes off, and by the way, there's a psychological and scientific reason for it being 30 minutes and not an hour. Do you know what it is? a lot of humans, up to 92% of humans won't remember what they did in the last hour, but up to 99% will remember what they did in the last 30 minutes. All right.
I'm going to have to do every 15 minutes.
Yep. That's okay, Carla. I mean, when I was a kid and I learned that exercise, like this was the late 80s, that you took a steno pad and you wrote down every 15 minutes what you were doing. It was 15 minutes when I first learned the exercise in the late 80s. So anyway, so you do that. And what's it telling you, Kevin, why James called himself I'll give you an example. James showed one of the times where there was a couple of hours blocked out and he kept saying, construction problem. I go, what's this? And he said, oh, we were having some work done at home. My wife was not happy with the contractor. I had to go home and mediate the conversation. Correct, James? Did I get that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, he's going to do anything to help his wife out so she's not stressed. He's brought her on a call with me. She's an amazing lady. I'm so glad they worked together for his success. But really, is that your job while you're in the middle of the real estate business? No. Right? I remember when I used to run that office in the 90s, my kids were small. I was in my first marriage. And my wife, I remember one day tried to call me during a team meeting where I was running the office meeting. I didn't know it. My phone was in the office, and then she would call the receptionist, and the receptionist phone was going to a voicemail system. And this is the early 90s, right? It was all we had. So I see that she had called when I get out of the meeting at about 1. She goes, well, what do I have to do to get in touch with you in an emergency? And I said, well, first, was it an emergency? She said, no, Anthony forgot his lunch and I wasn't where I could run it to the school. I go, you don't work and I need to make the money. Yeah, no, Anthony can starve for a couple hours. I'm fine with that. So I'm being facetious, but bottom line is, what is worth your distraction? You get to decide, and there's no judgment on it. But look, I didn't tell James to say he felt like he was a highly paid assistant. That's what he reacted to by looking at 3 days of that. All I want you to do is do it. I can't coach each of you on 100% alone, like one-on-one. But these calls, I promise you, I looked at how I did the calls the last 3 times I've done these ramp calls. And I feel like I wasn't as good of an accountability master as I could be. And that's why I've ramped it up for today. Okay. Casey said, come shopping with me. I'll get you back before 10. I said, no, I want at least 30 minutes of prep time before I attack these human beings that are on the call. Okay. All right. So Bruce, let's go back to what you said. I got 75% done. I haven't done it all, but do you feel like you said I had some reawakenings. I had some being motivated, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now given what's going on in your life, and let's be honest, I love Bruce and I love his wife, and I know they're going through a lot, but everybody has what's going on in their lives. It doesn't make yours less significant because theirs involves cancer. Yours is your problem. His is his problem. Do you get that? And I am daily like this. Every day I say prayers for everybody I've ever met in my organization because I want you to have an amazing life. Health-wise, first health, then happy, then everything else you want. Okay. Now, Bruce, what will you do differently next week as a result of what you learned this week? Today's Friday.
That I can control.
Okay. What's one activity you might add next week because of the homework assignments you did this week?
Things that, I've always wanted to get the door knocking down. But that's just not happening right now because, well, it's also 112 out.
Yeah.
But I have not gotten that done. That's one of my goals.
Okay.
Door knocking. And you told me about the slam class, and that was one of the major things that we should get into. But what I can control is just make more phone calls to my SOI. And just affect that as much as I possibly can.
Yes. You heard, I don't know if any of you heard Curtis Johnson talking today. He said, look, Buying a house and selling a house is a process. Yes, you've all had a one-night stand. I've never heard anybody call it that, where you picked up a lead, took him out, sold him a house. He called it a one-night stand. I love that idea, right? Like that's going to be a new language in my head. But he said, for most people, it's not a one-night stand. It's a process. And the process starts by you calling people that you know and saying, hey, I just want to call you before you heard the news or read someone's flyer or read a newspaper article, because most of it's not true. He didn't say it like that. He just said about the front. But I said, in my mind, I've been talking about that with my team, saying, call people and just say, don't worry about all the news, the economic news, all of that. Guess what? We still have a very low absorption rate. And when you say absorption rate, they're going to say, what's that? The majority of consumers do not know what absorption rate is, but we all do. But if we're talking about days on the market instead of absorption rate, days on the market sounds like every other agent. And I love what Curtis said. He said, what separates you from all of the other agents? That's what we're going to do here in RAMP. We're going to separate ourselves from all the other agents. Let's see. Sherry, who is it? Not Sherry. It was Sabrina. Sorry. It's Seller Listing Agent Mastery. It's another one of the programs you get with this program. There's 4 programs. Look, one thing I loved about what James said about I'm a highly paid assistant. I remember coaching somebody brand new for Workman. They were new to the business and they didn't have an assistant. And what I loved is sending them the AMP program. That's Administrative Mastery Program, because it taught them all the things that they would have an admin do if they had one. And guess what else it did? It added things that they weren't doing for their business. She started working longer hours, but she got more production because in the back rooms on the later nights and early mornings before she was out being a real estate agent, she was figuring out the administrative beauty in the background of her business. So that program is for that. BAM is Buyer Agent Mastery. It's brand new. They just redid it. And it's really great if you are strictly a buyer's agent. RAMP is for everybody, sellers and buyer's agents. And SLAM is if you just want to be better at listing. I'm going to encourage you all to get better at listing because it'll take less time. You go, well, what am I going to do with my buyers then? You're going to take them out until you have no more time and you miss your family. And then you'll start referring them to people at 50% referral fees. Okay. We'll talk about that. And it doesn't just happen overnight. Please. I've had a team 5 different times in my 42-year career. You go, well, why 5 different times? Because it's collapsed 5 different times. Okay. That's what happens. Yes. I'm a better coach because of my failures than I'll ever be a coach because of my successes. Believe me. Because I can tell you all day long what not to do, brothers and sisters. All right. So here's what I want you to think about. I want Bruce and every one of you to think about every week. I want to learn something that will make my activities more productive next week than they were this week, or else why do it? Okay. And I can talk for hours. I remember doing 3 Friday coaching calls in a row once, 3 in a row on door knocking. Every kind of door knocking you can imagine, why you do it, how you do it, what are the scripts. But guess what? The main thing I want right now is phone calls. I want you endearing yourself to every single person in your phone. I talked to a guy the other day because I was trying to do what I was telling my team to do. I just went through the phone and the next person on the phone was a real estate agent. And I realized I hadn't talked to him in like 20 years. He's a RE/MAX guy. I called him. This was not a recruiting call. This was, I wanted to chat with him because it'd been so long. And I apologized. I said, John, he goes, and he's funny. He said, dude, I didn't call you either, which was what I was hoping he'd say, right? Like, take responsibility. And I said, well, look, I've been telling everybody in my office, they have to call everybody in their phone, whether it's an agent or an escrow officer or an inspector or, a former client. I said, so I just wanted to do the same. And he goes, how you been? And I said, I don't think I've ever been better. I'm about to turn 65. He goes, I didn't know you were that much older than me. I said, is that the subject of the discussion right now? Anyway, but we talked. And at the end of it, he said, man, it's been so good catching up. Hey, listen, I'm not ready to talk about it right now, but maybe in a month or so, could you reach out to me? Because maybe I should hear something about EXP. I never mentioned EXP in the conversation. I didn't even mention who I was with. I did ask him, are you still with RE/MAX, when I called him? And he said, yep. So, okay. So all I'm saying is Bruce is right. It doesn't have to be your past clients. Do you know how many, the other day I have somebody on my team that's working with me to get my database in order. And we were looking at how many of them I've had on since when I got into the business. I met them at charity events and added them, and they've never bought or sold since. And a lot of them are much older than me, right? And she goes, this is the list of people I want you to start calling first. And I said, who are these? She goes, they've been on your database the longest and they've never bought or sold anything. They're still in the same house. And they owned a house before I was a realtor. I've been a realtor for 42 years, guys. Think about it. They've owned the house for a long time. Or they bought it in the years that I was a realtor where I didn't know them before they got added to my database. Make sense to everybody? Call everybody. If you're going to start with anybody on your list, start with the people that own homes, right? Might as well, because at least if the conversation goes that way. But what's the purpose of your conversation? Reconnect. You look in Workman, you look in Ramp, it says, remember the Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Have a call with them, find out about them. At some point, sometimes it's not the first call, sometimes it's the second or third, they're going to say, wait, how are you? What are you doing? Even during COVID, when we were urging people just to call in and check on people, I was doing it on my Free Friday coaching calls. I was doing it on Ramp calls. I was urging people to just check in. How are you doing? How are you handling all this craziness? And guess what? 2 out of 10 conversations, 2 out of 10 measured across the Workman world were getting asked back, hey, I need to talk to you about real estate. 2 out of 10. And as it got busier and busier during COVID, it up to 4 out of 10 and 5 out of 10. And the conversation, originally, the agenda was just to say, how you doing? Okay. You've heard me say it. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but this is the assignments to make a difference. Bruce said it. I got to make more calls. Okay. All right. Shoot. It's 11 a.m. That's the fastest hour I've ever heard. Let's see. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Nope. No questions. Anybody got something? Talk to me. Did you get something out of today? Do you need more from me before you leave today? I don't hear anybody.
Rick,
it was awesome.
Beth, go ahead.
Thank you.
It's just amazing to get back in and to be inspired and to have, a plan like Workman and Ramp to follow. And you are a giver, and you set this example of contributing to our businesses and to people and to whatever we do. You constantly set it up so that we have something to strive for. I do. Because you're an amazing human being, and I thank you so much, and I know how busy you are. So thank you for all of this.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, thank you, Beth. That was really endearing to me. So I want to remind you first, they're asking about the recordings. This is so not my department, Letitia. I'm so sorry. The recordings are within the Ramp program itself. So when Cheryl, do you know how to get to them? They're in there. Like you click on them, and then if you go
to research where
okay and we'll get that figured out, and we'll send it in the email. Okay, everybody should get the email. But there's 10 scrolls in this book. In my office, in my home, not this home here, but the Pleasant Hill home, I have the scrolls up in a frame, the 10 scrolls of this book. I just want to remind you what scroll number 1 says. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it takes about 4 or 5 minutes to read it, but I'm going to read a little bit from the beginning. It's on page 51 if you have this book. Anybody have the book with them? Good. I knew Vanessa would. All right.
Right here.
Today, I begin a new life. Today, I shed my old skin, which hath too long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. I love that part, mediocrity. Today, I am born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there's fruit for all. Today, I will pluck grapes of wisdom from the tallest and fullest vines in the vineyard, for these were planted by the wisest of my profession who have come before me generation upon generation. Today I will savor the taste of the grapes from these vines, and I verily will swallow the seed of success buried in each, and new life will sprout within me. The career I have chosen is laden with opportunity, yet it is fraught with heartbreak and despair, and the bodies, listen to this, of those who have failed, where they piled one atop another, would cast a shadow down upon all the pyramids of the earth. Yet I will not fail as the others, for in my hands I now hold the charts that will guide me through perilous waters to shores which only yesterday seemed but a dream. And what are those charts, ladies and gentlemen? They are the scrolls and ramp. I love you all. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Rick.